perpendicular lines. So perpendicular lines, if we remember, are lines that intersect or cross each other at a 90-degree angle. So if we take a look at these lines, and I have a line traveling something like this, then I would have a line traveling something like this. And remember, the way we mark a 90-degree angle is we put a little box here. So this is going to be two lines that intersect at a 90-degree angle. Now, graphically, what that looks like is they have opposite reciprocal slopes. Now, when I say opposite, I mean the difference between like positive and negative. So if one of them is going to be positive, then the other one's going to be negative. And when I say reciprocal, I mean flip, upside down. So let's start here. Let's say that this guy has a slope of 2/3. And this guy is perpendicular. So first of all, instead of positive 2/3, we would have to do negative, because that's the opposite. And then the reciprocal, instead of 2/3, would be 3/2. So 2/3 is kind of a smaller fraction, so he's not increasing so fast. But if we flip it and make it 3/2, this is now like 1.5, so this guy's a little bit steeper. But this guy is increasing from the left to the right, versus this guy is decreasing, therefore negative. So perpendicular lines have opposite reciprocal slopes. Number 3, determine which of the lines, if any, are parallel or perpendicular. Explain. Now, if lines are going to be parallel, that means they have the same exact slope. But if they're going to be perpendicular, that means it has to be opposite reciprocal. So step 1, we have to find the slope of each line. Okay, line A, I'm going to start by getting y by itself. I'm going to subtract 2x. That's going to leave me with 6y equals negative 2x minus 3. Then I'm going to divide by 6. Make sure you divide everything by 6. So y equals negative 2/6 x minus 3/6. And then I'm going to go through and simplify. So y equals negative 1/3 x minus 1/2. So I know my slope on this guy is negative 1/3. Let's just keep track of that for now. Next one, y equals 3x minus 8. This is already in slope-intercept form. Slope equals 3. Last one, negative 6y plus 18x equals 9. We have to get the y by itself, so I'm going to subtract 18x. So negative 6y equals negative 18x plus 9. And then we're going to divide everything by negative 6. Y equals positive 3x minus, let's see, if I simplify by 3, actually we can just leave this as 9/6, and then I'll go one step further. So y equals 3x minus 3/2. Now, once again, from here, I know my slope is 3. Okay, so first of all, are any of the lines parallel? Meaning, do any of them have the same exact slope? And the answer is yes. So I'm looking at line B, I'm looking at line C, and I'm saying line B and C are parallel. They have the same exact slope. Now, the question is, well, what about line A? Is that perpendicular to anything? Well, perpendicular means opposite reciprocal. So if I take a 1/3 and I flip it upside down, that would become 3/1. And if I do the opposite of a negative, that would be positive. So really, 3/1, I'd be looking at +3. Is that the opposite reciprocal? Well, yeah, because these are +3. So then we can say line A is perpendicular, which I'm going to abbreviate, to both lines B and C. Example 4. Write an equation of the line that passes through the point -3, 5 and is perpendicular to the line y equals -3x minus 1. Now, if we're going to be perpendicular, that means our slope has to be the opposite reciprocal. So right now, the slope of this line is -3. But I want the opposite reciprocal, which means the slope of my new line has to first of all be opposite, so positive, and then reciprocal. So instead of 3, really this is like 3/1, I'm going to make it 1/3. So the slope we want to deal with, if I want it to be perpendicular, is 1/3. And it has to go through this point. So once again, I'm going to revert back to point slope form. So y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Y minus xy, so 5, equals my slope of my perpendicular line. So we're going to grab +1/3, x minus my x, which is -3, and then we're going to clean it up. So the first thing I'm looking at is just right here. So I'm going to keep y minus 5 equals 1/3 x plus 3. And then once again, they didn't say anything about what form it had to be in. So just leave it in point slope form and you're done.